Hello and welcome to Talk Seagulls. My name's Ryan and today I'm joined by the wonderful Toby Ball.
That's so weird, actually.
Oh, okay, sorry. It's the other way around.
I hope that everyone that sees this now knows that I'm not actually Toby. But Toby, great to see you again, mate.
Yeah,
because
great to be here.
One, we're on the back of an unbelievable win. Mm-hmm. Two, we're on the back of an unbelievable goal. Mm-hmm. And three, we're on the back of an unbelievable experience.
Yes, you're right. It was a lovely game. Friday night, little Valentine's, me and you, was lovely. Brilliant game of football. Little double header. We've done the Chelsea week before and now the Chelsea this week and we beat them twice. So perfect.
Yeah, perfect. And also the Harry Blooms was great fun.
Yeah, it was
I bet
really
you
nice.
I'm going to get a load of people saying, oh, we've sold out. And fair enough. I mean, to be honest, I completely get why you would say that. But if you get the opportunity, you got to take it. Got to shout out EA Sports as well for letting us be there. We actually managed to contribute towards picking the man of the match, which was really cool.
Yeah,
I think I said either Mitoma or Minte when we put it through.
I think Minte for me I think that was the right choice. Don't get me wrong, Mitoma played brilliantly well, but I think Minte was outstanding. I thought he was outstanding the previous week in the FA Cup as well. But I just think he was just outstanding. I think he just edged it a little bit. And obviously the couple of goals helped. But yeah, either of them could have won it. And I don't think people would be questioning it. But yeah, for me, I think Minte just edged it a bit more.
Thing is with Minte is his contributions going forward and defensively. He tracks back so much, and he actually wins a lot of duels. And that's one thing I would notice. One of the first things I noticed about Minte when he first signed was how much of a hassler he is. Proper grafter, gets up and down. Bit old fashioned winger, to be honest. You know, a bit like how we were told about Hertzler's style of play when he first came over was this sort of quite aggressive, high press sort of thing. And he is pretty much that. I think if you're going to find a pressing winger, I don't really know many other that have got the sort of energy that he has for a 90-minute game.
He just constantly runs. When you're watching him late into the game, and he constantly runs, but he also runs at speed. Like the way he was pressing at speed in like the 60th, 70th minute or whatever before he was coming off. He was still lightning quick, pressing with real intensity. And I think that's what you want to see from your wingers. And he's bombing up and down. He's young, he's energetic, he works hard. I think he has everything that you want in a winger, and he's also got that technical bit of skill when he's in front of goal. I think he took his second goal superbly well. I think obviously but I think the way he shifted it and then found the near post, I think he's just taken that superbly well. I think you find sometimes a lot of wingers might get into that position and just try and blast it, but I think he's picked his spot and he's finished it brilliantly.
Yeah, I mean, Jorgensen had a nightmare, didn't he? It's a shame it wasn't Sanchez, actually, from a Brighton point of view.
It's not a shame.
From my point of view, it's a shame. But it was, I mean, let's get it right. They were very, 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 very bad. I was so surprised by how poor Chelsea actually looked throughout the game. I thought after the first one, we said it in the last episode, I was a little bit on the fence because I thought they'll definitely want to turn up and change that outcome. And they looked worse. They looked a lot worse than the previous week.
I think the first 10, 15 minutes was quite open. I think there's a few chances either side. You're going, okay, this could be a tasty game. And then I think Brighton just took control.
Yeah.
After the first goal, after Mitoma's wonderful goal, which we'll speak about, Brighton just took control from that for the rest of the game. And I think the issue with Chelsea, I think they're really struggling without that number 9. I think Cole Palmer is struggling a little bit because he doesn't really have that out ball to play someone in behind, or he's got someone stretching it, which then means he has more space for him to do his thing. So I think they are really struggling to find that balance without that number 9 that's making them runs in behind, because I felt like Chelsea weren't really threatening behind Brighton's back line. It was all in front of them, which I think from a defender you want to see. Everything was kind of in front. There wasn't much threat going in behind.
No.
So I think
no shots on target for Chelsea.
No, I think it was quite difficult for them. I think they are struggling to sort of find a way to play without that ideal number 9 and someone who's just willing to make them runs. Yes, they got quick wingers, but a lot of the times they're out wide, or when they drop in, they want the ball to feet and take their man on 1v1. They don't really make them sacrificing runs forward where they know they're not going to get the ball. So I think they are really struggling with that, and I think it showed. And then defensively as well, I think they had a couple mistakes at the back where sort of giving the ball away where Brighton could have punished them even more. So I think they're in a bit of a rough patch at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how they line up next week and sort of what their plans are, because I don't think they can carry on trying to do that going forward, because I think they will just get beaten, or best case scenario they'll draw 0-0 because they didn't really look a threat. Yes, they had their disallowed goal, but it was a foul. So I think yeah, they need to work something out to change. Otherwise, it'll be difficult.
I think quite surprisingly from my point of view, and a lot of Brighton fans' point of view, is watching Levi Colwill now. It looks like a completely different player. Really, really, really poor at times. Got dragged out way too many times. Gave the ball away a fair amount of times and didn't really track back either. I remember for that third goal where he got caught probably about 30, 40 yards up the pitch. And didn't, as you would want your defender to get up and rectify his mistake and go straight running back. And he sort of just sits there, jogs back. And, at the end of the day, it's his position that ends up getting exploited by Minte when he gets around Cucurella. It's really weird to see Colwill like that. Not that it really matters to us anymore anyway. But when you see players like him, Caicedo, Cucurella, who are so good here, and they look sort of half the players they did. It's a strange one.
Yeah, I don't think the players have got worse. I think they're just not struggling to adapt because they've been there for a while now. But when everything's kind of played right in front of them, it's all quite tight. I can understand why Levi Colwill has driven out with the ball. He's driving out, he's waiting for
it's the recovery afterwards,
he's waiting for someone to make a run, or he's waiting for someone to do something. And when they're not, there's that frustration there. So when he gives the ball away, it's kind of like, oh, guys, come on.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, if you're not going to work for me, I'm not going to work for you. And you don't want that in that team environment. Obviously, that might not be the case, but that's just sometimes how it looks. It's like
Chelsea do seem a bit like that egos in the club look a little bit too much.
Potentially, we did see there was quite a lot of sulking going on the pitch, which isn't nice to see. But it's because they're all just getting frustrated. I just think they're struggling. They don't really know what to do, or I still don't think there's that outlet. Because they've got so many players that are just happy to have the ball in the feet, the space just gets way too congested. So it's really, really tight, and they're waiting for that pressure. So it's the same with Brighton. Levi Cole will be on the ball, they'll wait for the pressure, and then the movement would come.
Yeah.
So he's doing the same thing, but that movement's just not there. Or if it is, it's a really tight pass where he's probably just going to get it fizzed back, and then he's stuck in no man's land. So I think that's where they're struggling a little bit at the moment, is that out ball. So yeah, I think that's why these players are still exceptionally talented players. I think Cucurella is a good left back. Moises Caicedo is a fantastic midfield player. Levi Cole is a brilliant defender. I think they're just having to maybe do things which they wouldn't necessarily do. They're trying to force it. And
is that a tactical problem at Chelsea then, Zamaresco? Do you remember at the beginning of the season it was how well of a job he was doing? And I remember Leicester fans saying that he had a bit of a mid-season crash, nearly actually stopped them getting promoted. They had a real drastic problem during the season last season. You'd want that team, as a Chelsea fan, to see after that first game where you lose 2-1 against a team where, as Danny Welbeck described it, it is like a rivalry now, that there is a lot of energy on that pitch where Brighton are up there and they want to get you, they want to kill you off. You saw that in the first game, you saw it in the second game straight away. As you say, they had a bit of control in the first 10 minutes, and rightly so. You give credit to their possession, but when it doesn't equate to a single shot on target, surely at that point you've got to be questioning a lot of things at Chelsea. But on a Brighton, go on, you can.
Yeah, so I just don't know if it's necessarily is the manager. I know obviously he had that time at Leicester. I still think he's a good manager. I think it's a lot to do with the recruitment.
Agree.
They recruited a lot of players that are in very similar positions, that have sort of the same style. I think the recruitment, I think they got it wrong a little bit. That there's too many players.
A little bit.
Yeah.
£1 billion spent on it, 250 here.
I think that they should have like a backup striker, or that they should have options there, or they should have different types of wingers. They all seem very similar. Yeah, Cole Palmer, that's a fantastic, fine, great player. Their midfielders are fantastic. But it doesn't work unless every piece of the puzzle fits, and I just don't think it is at the moment. And especially when you got players where they don't just want to do it themselves, but it's kind of like they'll do their own thing and then they'll sulk with it. And I'm like, that's just not going to work. In that side, that for me, I just don't think that works. They need every piece of the puzzle to be connected. And I think that they will go back. If Jackson didn't get injured, I think Chelsea would still be very strong and pushing up there. That's my opinion, because they did look frightening and they were electric. But obviously, injuries happen. You have to plan and prep for that. I just don't think they've done that well. So
you'd have thought Chelsea would have had bad recruitment. But we'll put it on a Brighton point of view anyway, because we were excellent. Particularly, as you say, after that first goal, we really broke the ice a little bit. Probably came a bit against the run of play. It was a really actually quite straightforward goal, to be honest. If you were to it paint the picture of that ball over, that not that was straightforward at all, but from what happened, it was very, very easy from a Chelsea fan point of view, but from a Brighton point of view. Now, I'm going to say it right now. I said to you off air, Brett agreed with me. It's the best goal I've seen live. It's certainly the best goal I've seen at the Amex. And now look, I know what you said. You said about Julio.
Julio's one, yeah.
And I think, but my thing is, I feel like Mitoma could do what Julio did, but I don't feel like Julio could do what Mitoma did. That first touch, and I said it to you in an unpopular opinion, which episode hasn't even gone out yet, by the way. I'm gutted I didn't put it out. It's so annoying. I said that Mitoma had the best first touch in football, and I've said it for about 2 or 3 years, right? Yeah. Every single time I see him play, I say exactly the same thing. You rarely see him miss a ball, right? And that ball over the top, he's running at full pace, and you and I both know how difficult that is to bring down. And you got a player as good as Chalobah on you, you know, he's a good defender, everyone knows, especially last ditch. He's on him like anything. He's not even really looked behind him as to where the ball's coming. He's plucked it out of the air. It's a perfect touch. But it's not just that bit, it's the rest of it. He's had to then get it away. He's changed direction. He's gone a complete other way. Chalobah's been sent already. And okay, yes, you maybe would question Jorgensen a little bit if you get a hand on it, but he still had to tuck that into the far corner, which is a fantastic goal. And I heard someone say it's a Messi-like goal. It's a Bergkamp-like goal.
Yeah, Jamie Carragher said it was Messi-esque, which obviously is probably one of the highest compliments you can get in football.
You don't throw that around either.
No, that's not something you just throw around lightly. And obviously we spoke about it. I said I didn't agree that it was the best goal I've ever seen live. But it's definitely up there, and I'd say for me, it's probably the best goal I've probably seen at the Amex. Yeah, I'd say that.
Well, people say Andone. I know that's going to come.
Yeah,
I think I was at the Andone one, but I think he had a bit of luck on the way through. The first touch was very heavy.
It's a matter of opinion, I think. At the end of the day. Like, we all say it's a fantastic goal. Like it is. It's the way he has plucked it out of the air. And then it's the fact he hasn't like stopped. It's all kind of like one motion. It just flows. It reminded me a little bit like when I saw it. You know, there's a few times when De Zerbi like try and play with the ball with Jason Still, where they'd sort of open that gap in the middle, and then play the long ball over the top, and then you'd have like Mitoma or someone running through, and it would, because we had very good and quick wingers that had brilliant first touches, you're kind of leaving yourself one-on-one, and that was it. And you'd back them any day to beat someone one-on-one, and they're through to the goalkeeper. So yeah, the way he's taken it and then shifted it at speed as well. It was lightning. And obviously watching it live, it was like, whoa, he's just plucked it. All of a sudden the ball's in the back of it. It was incrable.
You got a brilliant angle of it as well, by the way. That's going to now go over the top.
Yeah, I got a great clip. I've managed to catch that quite well.
Yeah, I went mad.
Yeah, the celebrations were fantastic after. And I think even the celebrations for the Minte goal, I managed to capture that as well. The celebrations behind in the North Stand were amazing. The noise was really good coming out of there. But yeah, that Mitoma goal was wow. It was wow. You just watched it and you're going,
mate, this is what I was saying. When we rejected the money for Mitoma, it was the absolute right decision. 100%. I said he's completely invaluable to, especially mid-season, right? Even if it was summer, I'd say 150, whatever it's going to be to even get Brighton to even look at it. I just wouldn't sell him for anything, because I think it's not just what he does on the pitch, where I think he's probably the highest quality player we've ever had. And I do think that, because I say that in the terms of, obviously you can't compare the now footballer at the top level to like difficult players when we were, in the 80s and stuff like that, because obviously the level is different. But I think in terms of quality, even in the last 10 years, since we've been a Premier League side, since we've been competing in the Championship at the higher end, you do have high quality players in the Championship. You could say like a Knockout, for example, the impact he had here was unbelievable. But I think I've never seen a player quite as good as Mitoma here. He is unbelievable.
Yeah, I think he's probably arguably one of the best signings.
2.5 million.
Yeah, the club's probably ever made, or one of the best signings in the Premier League based on the price point. So yeah, he's fantastic. He's a phenomenal athlete as well. I think he looks after himself well. He's obviously picked up a few injuries. Yeah,
he's a good guy.
He seems like it. Well, the only thing with the Saudi thing, obviously people argue, is yes, the club rejected. But for a lot of players, if that comes in and you see your club reject it, some people might throw up a fuss. They'll be like, no, I want to go. That's life-changing money. And you can understand that. But he doesn't strike me as that type of person that's seen that rejection and is going to throw up a fuss and be like, I want to go. I think it would have been, I don't know, but ideally the club would have gone, oh my God, hold on a minute. We can profit here from about, 60 odd plus million. Yes, he's a fantastic player. But the way the club is run, I think that would have been, they might have thought about it. And then obviously speak to Mitoma. I don't think he really would have been that interested. So yeah, I don't think he was ever going to go based on I think what he's like as a person. I don't think that would interest him. So I think it sort of just made that whole decision for the club a whole lot easier. But yeah, I think he's too good to be out there. Do you know what I mean? I think
he's crazy. He's too good.
He needs to show. I think he wants to show what he's got, and yeah, he's just every week is he's fantastic. He always has that bit of magic.
And this is what I'm happy that we brought up, is about him as a good person, because you can see the difference in the squad of Brighton and the difference in the squad of Chelsea. Now, I can't obviously assume that all of them are bad people, but you can see the ego difference. You can see the sort of team togetherness. Obviously we're on the back of a 7-0 drilling a few weeks ago, and I was, very, very unhappy after that game, and rightly so. I still sort of stand by what I was like after that game. I had to sit through it, stab through it, and it was rubbish. And I think it's all about then how you bounce back. It's all about the reaction, and without sounding too cliche, I think that's exactly what we've seen in the last few games. We've seen anything, from the players, but from sort of a leadership standpoint, I think you saw JP Van Hecker being so good at that. But players like Mitoma, to really take that upon themselves in a game like that, where you're under it a little bit, and just have that moment of magic. I think, as I said, I do believe fully he is the highest quality player we've had, but it's not just him as the sort of good players of high quality we've now got. Like we said, Yankuba Minte seems like such a likeable kid, really, really likeable character. Same with Jorginho, who's got such a good connection with Brighton now, and the fan base. It goes across the whole team. Danny Welbeck's obviously been really, really, really key to that.
I think a lot of credit as well should go to Adam Webster. I thought he was superb. He is. You can tell he's a leader.
Stepped in for Dunk,
and to step in for Lewis Dunk, the club captain. And I thought he played phenomenally well.
Yeah.
I think he's had a few of his critics. He's picked up injuries, so he probably wasn't being in the best of form. But I thought he was.
I haven't had him written off not that long ago.
No, I thought he was superb, and the way he conducted himself as well. He wasn't trying to do anything spectacular. He'd done his job. He'd done it well. He was solid at the back with JP, I think it was really important for him to have like a game like that. I think because if Lewis Dunk is out for, I don't know how long, and he needs to sort of fill that role, and it's also the leadership role. It's not necessarily just being a centre back. It's also filling that leadership role. Yeah. And I thought he'd done that superbly well.
Agree. And it's not just him, is it? It's him. Welbeck, Veltman, another one that's
Welbeck
really,
again,
really key to that.
Mature performance. I felt as well, having them players around him. And obviously the boys coming on. I thought Gomez as well when he came on. Yeah. I thought he played really well.
Captain of Paraguay, another potential leader at the club.
Jack in midfield, I think, and Believer in midfield again showed really mature performances, a lot of bravery getting on the ball. So I think all round it just showed a lot of maturity. They didn't sulk. Obviously you're not going to sulk when you're winning a game of football, but as in coming back off a 7-0 defeat to then go in and be like, right, actually we've got to prove something here. And I think they've gone and done that, and hopefully that will kick on even more.
Yeah, agree. And it's most importantly about, say, the Mitoma sale, just the final thing on this. But you see the impact and the influence he's had on this football club. It's incredible. And that, for sure, is one of the biggest influences a single player has ever had here. He's single-handedly helped brand this football club into Asia, which is unbelievable. Yeah. You saw the impact that Son had with his, South Korean sort of complete takeover at Spurs. You've got people travelling from the other side of the world just to come and watch.
We had the guy in HBs, didn't we? Before the game.
Top guy as well.
All the way from Japan. So, it shows that the impact he's had, not only off the pitch, that has changed the club massively. Like you look at the club's following now across a lot of social media presence, and that has just grown massively. And a lot of that is because of him, plus his performances on the pitch. It works so well. We spoke about it before, like Liverpool have signed players like Minamino. There were squad players. A lot of it was to do with off the pitch. It wasn't necessarily brought in from the pitch because it brings in that audience. But for Mitoma to do it on the pitch and be one of the first starting 11 every week, and to have this impact off the pitch, it's just, for the club, it's phenomenal.
I think as well, when you see players like Son, who has pretty much just paved the way for so much more exposure. You didn't really see historically too many Asian players coming over from Asia to come over to the Premier League apart from Ji-sung Park. And I put a lot of that down to these players like Park, like Son, Mitoma now, Okazaki was another one who won the Premier League. That helps then people, it inspires people to then want to get into football, where it's not exactly the biggest sport out there in the world. And this is coming from someone that is half Asian as well, by the way. I'm half East Asian as well. Burmese, by the way. Shout out Burma. They got to get up higher than 173rd in the rankings, I think it is now. Could probably play for him, to be honest. Anyway.
They're not getting above that ranking then.
So then when you've got players like these players who are so influential and so big for, for example, the Asian market, but then also so much more now. I think that it enables that training facilities. It enables, a whole new way. I think in USA, since the whole sort of MLS breakout, since you see more transfers from say like South America, from the American players now, like Pulisic, for example, like there's more access out there now to become a footballer, which was not really something that anyone would want to do. And a friend of mine's Antiguan, and it was always like, how do you really get out of Antigua to play football? And then obviously America weren't really interested in football. Whereas now you've got training facilities that are absolutely next level. Obviously, Dave Beckham's made a massive impact in that as well. And it's now empowered actually, the young people out there, young people out in Asia to think, oh, we could play football. I want to be like Son. I want to be like Mitoma. And I think that's incredible, really. And that's why you're probably going to see more and more. We just signed Do Young Yun as well, the South Korean kid, 17-year-old. So I reckon you're going to see more and more Asian influence now.
Yeah, because there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent out there. It was the same when a lot of African players then started to come and started playing. This was obviously years ago when they were coming to play in the Premier League. And then people were actually shocked. But no, there's a lot of talent out there. It's just how do we make it happen? How can we get players from out there over into this country and play? And obviously people like, yes, you also want to promote the homegrown players. That's really important. But again, we have the best league in the world, arguably some of the best leagues. Championship, again, is very high level. So I think that there's lots of talent out there. So we always want to attract the best talent.
Yeah.
And we're going to look worldwide for it. We're always going to attract the best talent. And it shows that recruitment now as well. You see a lot of the under-21 side, even some 18 side, they have boys from across the world, really. I remember being under 18s and 21s, and we started having boys coming from all sorts of areas, Switzerland, Australia, obviously a lot of European clubs. We had a few boys come over on trial from America. So it's finding the talent, because it's definitely there. It's like, how can we then bring that talent over and excel our league even more?
Yeah, I agree. And it's, as I say, it's that impact. And that's what I think Mitoma is so invaluable here, because he's essentially just his own personal brand, pretty much. He's his own thing.
Yeah, off the pitch as well, it has a major impact. Like you see Brighton, when they go and do their Asian tour and stuff like that, brings in...
It's massive.
That brings in so much revenue for the club, which is...
I mean, one of the biggest... I saw an interview on TikTok, and it was like where someone was going through the streets of Tokyo, and they were just interviewing people saying, like, what team do you support? So many of them said Brighton.
Yeah, of course.
So many of them said Brighton.
It has that impact. It definitely has.
It's crazy.
Of course, you're always going to have your big clubs of your Man United, Real Madrid, that always get followed globally. But you're starting to have that impact, and just from one signing.
Yeah.
So it's for the revenue it creates off the pitch is amazing, and kind of what it would create, like the Asian tour. If Brighton didn't sign Mitoma, I don't think that happens. It just goes hand in hand, and it's the same with going out to America. The Premier League do their I'm not too sure what it's called. Their pre-season thing of the Premier League clubs, and then them stadiums are filled out for every single game. Yeah, it's a pre-season tour.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like the following out there now for Premier League football. It's of course it's global. We see it from international broadcasters. They all pay the rights for the Premier League. Where it's the fans actually want to see it live. So yeah, when you sign these players like Mitoma, what it does revenue wise for the club is incredible. Yeah,
I agree. Well, that goal should be on billboards for years to come. I'll tell you that much. But let's come back to the game. Unbelievable for a start. Minte was really important. Jorginho was extra good, I thought. He's got a new role at Brighton now, Jorginho. He's almost become established himself as a number 10. I think he was a bit combating with João Pedro at one point when Pedro was in good form. Yeah. Obviously, Pedro's had a bit of maybe a few weeks off, really, in terms of his form. I think Jorginho just steps up every single time. And what I really, really like about him is obviously how likable he is as a character, but as well as a player, he's so unpredictable. I think you don't know what he's going to do next in a good way. He's very, very strong, got a great turn of pace, good skill set. His sort of chance creation as well is really, really good. And I don't know, for me, he's become like a Pascal Gross if he had a bit of pace and maybe a little bit more muscle to him. And I think because he's only 22, he's got a really, really high ceiling, and I think he could become a really important player here. I hope he's that one that sort of stays loyal, because he seems like that sort of player. Yeah, maybe Leeds fans will tell me different.
It's always difficult though, isn't it? If you're going to get attracted by big clubs, it's of course it's going to be hard if you can be tempted with Champions League football.
Well, he had that story on, didn't he, before the game about saying this is more than just a game. And you could tell he was up for it, mate. His celebrations were insane. And did you see him drop to his knees as well in the third goal?
It means something to him. Yes, he's not born and bred Brighton. He's not homegrown, but he plays for the club. So he has passion. He has passion for the club. So whenever he steps out onto the football pitch, and it shows with his performances, he steps out and he goes out and he wants to win. He wants to put smiles on fans' faces. He wants to prove his £40 million signing fee. You can see he wants to do that. And again, from a fan's perspective, that's all you want to see from a signing. He'll work hard every single week. Yeah, he's not probably going to score you loads and loads of goals, but he'll work hard.
He's our top scorer now.
Yeah, but as in like he's not the one where it's like he's not like your striker where they tend to get a lot of praise. He's a very hard working individual, and I think he's really grown into his time at Brighton this year.
Agree. Final individual I'm pointing out is Baleba. I just think he's class, and him and Jorginho particularly together have just sort of combined into this force really. As I say, Georgie's just becoming almost like a first name on the team sheet now. He works so hard, but so does Carlos. And that first game against Chelsea, I remember the Georgie flick. I remember a few Baleba runs, and Caicedo was being digged out, and we were saying, Baleba versus Caicedo. Baleba's definitely got that high ceiling for me. He's definitely got that high ceiling.
I think it's hard to compare, to be honest. Like my opinion,
they're different players.
They are different players. They're both exceptionally talented players. A lot of it depends on what side you put him in. If you then put Baleba in that Chelsea side, you don't know how he's going to look. So it's like, I think it is difficult to compare. They both have really high ceiling. I think if Moises Caicedo signed at Man City at the start of this season, I don't know if City would be having no problems with Rodri and stuff like that. So it's really hard. A lot of it depends on what team you're in.
I think the difference is for me,
position, I think
Caicedo's an absolutely fantastic player, and he's a brilliant holding midfielder. He's good box to box, but I think what Baleba excels at is that unbelievable burst of pace. He's got an incredible shot on him. He's not afraid to sort of just take risks, and he's not afraid to make them step ups. He's never really lacks composure. I think the only thing that Baleba, maybe if you're going to be like De Zerbi or even Hertzer at the end of the game, was saying a few perfectionist things, saying, okay, yeah, we won 3-0, but to be honest, it could have been 6 or 7 if we really wanted to take it to him. Maybe we should have done. And when you look at Baleba, probably the imperfection in him is just that lack of leadership, but that comes with naivety and that comes with age. I think when he grows, I think if he used to stay here for another year or two, he's definitely going to become that, because I think he's I don't even know. He's so excitable. He's a great person again, right? He seems to be the theme of this episode. And you see him at the end of the game, that celebration, running through the tunnel, going crazy. That's the energy that you want to see from Baleba. And I think that's what we've got from him at the moment on the pitch. It's that fearlessness. Sometimes you may not want him to be too fearless and then get yourself in trouble. But I think as he grows and becomes sort of that leadership role as well, I think that's what he can definitely learn off. And probably something that Caicedo lacked, particularly off the pitch. I think, he was surrounded by clearly some very bad agents. He literally announced he was leaving in the January window when he wasn't. There was no fee agreed and deal agreed, and refused to train, refused to play. I think the difference is now you don't really have them players at Brighton that, like Trossard, for example, jetted off to Belgium. Sanchez refused to train. You don't really have that anymore.
Yeah, I think before you get a lot of these things have sort of just come out, you don't know whether they're truths or not. I think that's the first thing you have to say.
Trossard was in Belgium.
Yeah, and I think it's difficult because then them characters are maybe a bit more senior, and not feel disrespected, but they're like, actually, I'm should be worth more than this. But that's something else. I think what's really good at the moment is where Caicedo's at Chelsea is probably not really surrounded by a senior head. There's no real senior heads around him from that midfield perspective.
No, there's not.
Whereas at Brighton, you've got a lot of senior heads. Yes, they're maybe not on the pitch, but they're off the pitch. Like James Milner, I think he must be having such a great impact in that football club. Yeah, people haven't seen him for quite a while, but I reckon
I haven't seen him since City away. Is the last thing I remember.
I reckon he's having a really good impact on the football pitch, even though he's not playing. And then obviously you've got other people in the group like Lewis Dunk and Emma Webster. You have them real professionals, and I think James Milner is probably the most professional person maybe to play in the Premier League
Yeah.
ever. So to be surrounded by someone like that, it's only gonna benefit all them players because they are really young.
That's it.
I think that's the difference is they've got them senior heads that are just keeping on their toes, making sure they keep working. They're not taking it for granted. That they're always trying to push to be better. And I think that's why it's sort of it showed on Friday.
It's interesting with Daniel Niedzkowski, I want to know what his role is at the club. It's a bit of a confusing one. I know that I've tried to explain it before, but to be honest, it's through pretty faint glasses because I'm not really quite sure what he's here for. I guess he's the assistant coach. He was the I guess tutor, the teacher of Fabian Hürzeler. And as we're talking about sort of them senior heads, like how we've got such a young squad, we've also got such a young manager. And, that's one thing that we've maybe suffered with is, we haven't really had that imposingness, on the squad and someone to say, look, this, and this, and you weren't good here, you need to do this. And, you can't take that from someone that's potentially younger than you. And I understand that political battle in itself. I wonder if that's something that he is hands-on with or not, I don't know. But you've definitely seen a little bit of a change, I think, especially in terms of that, as you say, that leadership quality and maybe that just bit of composure, that little bit of know-how, especially since that really, really horrible defeat against Forest. To come back and bounce back like we have done. Yes, okay, you can give credit to the team for doing so. But I think as well, a lot of that does come down to those players really stepping up and where that's come from, whether it's even just come from the players. It could have done. It could just be players saying, look, this ain't us. We can't be doing this anymore, regardless of what anyone thinks. But there can't be a coincidence in the fact that since he's come in, there's definitely been, even for Fabian's sake, someone to maybe look up to a little bit more. But my question is on it for you, Toby. Because I listened to a couple of clips as well on social media about him, and if he is highly thought of at the club, if he is someone that's maybe potentially higher regarded at the moment than Fabian Hürzeler, why is it this way around? Is he technically should be the manager?
I wouldn't agree with that. I think
I'm not saying it is the case. I'm just causing an argument.
I think Fabian is the man. He's the leader. He's the boss. I don't know if he wouldn't be seen as more high regarded at the club. People might say that, but you've got your manager. He's the boss. I think he's just now starting to surround himself with really good people.
Just going by what was said on, I think it was on their social media, something like that. They did an interview with him, and I saw a clip on their social media, and it just felt a little bit like they were saying he was almost the teacher, the leader of Hürzeler. And whether that's come in to do that, I don't know. I'm just trying to make sense of it to myself.
Probably previously he was maybe like a mentor or a teacher when he was starting his coaching career. I think now he'll have his own sort of philosophies, but they will be a lot of it from his ideas. So I think it's surrounding yourself with good people. We spoke previously about how young some of the coaching staff was. Like Andrew Crofts was, he's quite recent into men's first team football. Now he's taken on the role with Wales, and he's now really excelling in his role. Which is really good to see. But again, he's quite young and new to it. So I think it was important for the club to bring someone in that the manager's department with a bit more of a senior head. I still think, obviously, Fabian's the boss. He's the leader. I just think it's just bringing in an extra body, someone who is maybe a bit wiser and a bit more experienced than Fabian. But I think it's always he's your man and he's the boss. I don't think the guy coming in he'll have a more important say in what happens. I think he's
maybe not that. It's more about his impact is. Maybe I don't know.
A lot of it will be on the pitch coaching. You see a lot of the time, a lot of the managers don't necessarily lead the sessions. I think Fabian probably will do because that tends to be quite the modern way of coaching. You don't really see it anymore. Maybe 20 years ago, a lot of the managers would just sit in their office. They wouldn't even be out on the training pitch. They just pick the teams and they're the people that talk to the press and all that. Whereas now I think the modern coach is out there getting involved, but you don't just have it with one guy. He'll be taking certain parts of the session, then the other coach will take another part of the session. Then you have your set piece coach that they'll take the set pieces and all of that. So I think it's just bringing in an extra body that just adds something new and adds something fresh to the management team, really.
No, it's fair enough. I'm not saying he is any.
No.
I'm just sort of trying to get a gauge of it for the sake of the followers and the people watching. But no. Anyway, a very, very good result. Finally, that turn in form is very much on us. Finally, we're looking like we're way more on the up than we were. Twice in a week, ole ole. Love it. Absolutely love it. It had to happen to them, didn't it? It really did. And if it was going to happen to anyone, it had to be Chelsea. And I just, as I always say, I will never give them praise for anything they do unless they win the quadruple. Because if you spend £1 billion and you strip a club and take all of their stuff, you have no right to be praised unless you make that into something better than it was, and it's still not. So until that happens, you can get my praise. Until then, no, not going to happen. No praise whatsoever.
You're not bitter at all, are you?
No, look, I don't think it's bitter because we've just beaten them twice on the bounce. So, right, if I was bitter, I would be saying this after we lost. I can't stand them, mate. Yeah. And I think that you can see that.
I could tell on the Friday. I could tell.
But you can tell as well with the players. You can tell it goes down. The players aren't happy with it. Welbeck said a really, really good interview at the end. Did you see that?
Yeah, I get that. I think that it's not necessarily with the players that are playing. There's always that mutual respect. Whenever you step onto a football field, you always have mutual respect to who you're playing against. I think that's a football thing. Maybe you might not respect their bosses and maybe what they're doing with the club. Of course not. But I think
it's really going well, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think as soon as you step on the football pitch, there's always that level of respect with the players. So I think, yeah, when talking about the players, they'll always speak respectfully about each other. Then obviously other things, that's another story. But I'm not going to get myself involved with that. So.
Year on year progression, mate. Year on year progression. And the good thing is, you say, it's working. And they should have just spent some more money and bought a striker, shouldn't they? Then they wouldn't have this problem. But anyway, look, let's come back to reality. It is what it is. 2 wins on the bounce. Very, very happy with that. Move on to a few more games now. Yeah. Southampton, guarantee we're going to go there and lose now. I've said all that.
Well, I think, to be fair,
it'll be a tough game, actually.
Yeah, seeing where Southampton are in the league, I don't actually think they're as...
Mate, it just screams.
Well, I don't think they're as bad as what people think. I've watched them a few times, and they are a good side. They've been their own downfall. They've been really dominant in games, and then all of a sudden they'll give a goal away. Or
Mine's not there now, though.
3 goals away. So it's like, yeah, I do sympathise a little bit with them, but it's a lot of it's from their own downfall.
Do you know what? I'll set the bar here, right? We drew 2-2 with them. We were 2-0 up and we bottled it. Remember that? That we need to beat them. Actually, we need to go there and beat them because we need to keep on this trend. You're going to the bottom of the league. You got to go and set the standard and say, look, no, we're not going to just take the mick and say, yeah, we're Brighton. This is what we do. We always throw away games against bottom. No, we're going to go there and we're going to win. That's it.
But if you want to be a club that are competing for Europe, you have to do that. You can't be going to, no offense, bottom of the league and going, we could get a draw.
Yeah, banana skin.
You
go win.
Yeah, I think
agree.
And that will be the mentality, and that's the turning point for the club. That's what you want to see. You just go there, a really mature performance, and you go win the game, and you come home with 3 points. It's as simple as that. And yeah, no game in the Premier League is easy, but if you want to be a side competing for Europe and you're going to the bottom of the league, you go there and you go, right, mature performance, take 3 points, go home.
Agree. And we want to see that. Toby, thank you for joining me, mate.
No worries.
Make sure you follow him on Instagram as well. You see a nice video of me celebrating the second and third goal, actually, I think it was.
Yeah.
And the first. I think you got all 3 of them on there, actually. But yeah, make sure you drop him a follow. Plenty more stuff to come with him. We actually do have some TSR stuff finally recorded, which I think I will release at some point soon. Make sure you come down to Caxton Arms. I don't think I said that at the beginning. I'm really sorry, Brett, if I didn't. Make sure you come to Caxton Arms, support the pub, support Brighton. We'll see you very soon. Make sure you keep streaming. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you soon.